Okay, welcome back to our show. Today what we're going to do is I'm going to give you a quick description of linoleum, and you'll have as much information as you need to get started on your linoleum block project. And what we do is we use nicknames for things whenever we can. So we don't usually call this linoleum, we call it lino. So, does anybody have any questions before I start?
What is linoleum made out of?
That is a great question, thank you. Linoleum has a burlap back, and the stuff on the front is cork, pigment, and linseed oil. And it has some of the same ingredients as the linoleum that we walk on, but as you can see, this is super soft, right? And that's, it's an art product. We don't see it in other places. So this is what it looks like uncut. And I have a piece that is cut. It's sort of, I guess it's one that's been left behind in my classroom. And so I wanted to use it as a sort of a sample to show you how to cut. You can see this has been printed in yellow ink before, it's stained. So let's say that you want to cut your linoleum into a different size, okay? I think this is 6 by 8, I'm not sure. I believe the linoleum in your kits is 6 by 8, but let's say you want to do, 6 by 6 or something like that. So first of all, I want to show you how to do that, and we're starting, of course, by measuring. Measure twice, cut once is what they say. So I'm going to go like this. Little tiny tick, like that. And then I'm going to do the same over here. Little tiny tick. If you're unsure of yourself, you can put a line down there, but I'm just going to use these 2 ticks here as my guide. I get a blade. You can use a bigger one if you want. And what I'm doing, I'm not going to cut all the way through this. You could, but it would be a waste of time and muscle. What I'm doing is I'm just scoring this, and then I'm going to fold it like a book. So you can see how soft it is. And then what I do is I'm going to take my blade and cut down here, cut the linoleum. Cut the burlap. Like so. And you may need to trim just a little bit right here with scissors, or peel it off kind of like that, because you don't want this stuff to be part of your print. All right, so I've got my piece of linoleum, and the next thing I need are my tools. You have this in your kit, and this is very cool. There's nothing sharp about this, right? This is just the handle, but if you take off the end of the handle, whoopsies, I think this is the one I need. No. All right, so one sign of a good demo is when something goes wrong. Because if something goes wrong in the demo, I'll show you how to recover, right? The thing that just went wrong is that all my blades were stuck in here, all right? The new set you're gonna get have all the blades in here. And you may have to give them a shake before you take off the handle. Okay, so there are 6 blades in here, and I'm gonna order them in the order of size. And you'll see what I mean. Let's see. Give me 1 minute here. I've got two of one. Okay, I am looking at these little numbers that are right here on the blade. And you don't have to rely on those, because you can tell by looking at these blades that they range in size. Okay, so here's a sort of a scalpel blade. I find very little use for this. In fact, I don't use it. You may want to abrade the surface of the linoleum, and you can use that. But you can see number 1 it has the smallest blade. And if you can see up close, right into the blade, you'll see it has a V shape, right? The blade is steep and it looks like a V. And this is called a V gouge. You know, fancy that. And as you move through to the higher numbers, the V gets wider. And this is the widest one. And it's not called a V gouge, it's called a U gouge, you know, because it's more shaped like a U. And this is a great tool too. This is number 4, and it's got a square, kind of a squared off blade. So I guess I'm not quite sure what to call that. Maybe a square U gouge? Not sure that guy has a name. But the way that you use this set is you can see at the end of the handle, this twists. You don't take it off. You just open it up and you can see that there's a ball bearing in there and a little shape, a little kind of U-shaped shape, right? And at the end of each blade, it has this U-shaped thing that fits perfectly inside like that, and then you tighten it down. Okay, so I put in the biggest U gouge. And rule number 1 is safety. You always cut linoleum away from yourself. And you put 100% of your body behind the tool. So this is a big no-no, right? This is a recipe for impaling yourself and having to go to the doctor. Also, this is too, do not carve toward your sternum, because these are not terribly sharp, but they are sharp enough to cut skin. All right, so a U gouge, the biggest blade, it makes the biggest shaped mark. Okay, so you can see the linoleum, it comes out in a little worm, right? And I get this extra here. And if you put the lines together, you cut out a swath of material. So wherever you cut out and you remove the linoleum, that's going to be white or paper colored, right? And some of you might have done lino cut or easy cut or speedy cut or something like that in high school. And one reason it's done in high school is because you don't need a press. Not too many high schools have one. Okay, so I'm switching blades and I'm going to put in the tiniest V gouge to show you the difference in these marks. Now, here we go. Sometimes it's a little bit tough, but remember, just don't ever take this thing off 100%. I mean, you can screw it back on, but if it's off, the blade's not going in. Okay, so here we go. So the linoleum that's coming off, it's this tiny little worm, right? And if you find that your linoleum is, instead of cutting really easily like this, it cuts like this and sort of like scoots across the linoleum, one way that you can make this work is you can heat up the surface of the linoleum. I used to say, oh, just go to the ironing board and turn on your iron and, you know, iron the linoleum with a piece of paper over it. But I realized that college students often don't have an iron, and I didn't have one when I was in college. So what you can do is you can put it in the microwave for 10 seconds. If you put it in too long, the linoleum will bubble, right? We don't want that. So 10 seconds or 10 seconds at a time. Or you can heat it in a conventional oven. Turn it on to the lowest setting, put it on a cookie sheet, and, you know, put it in there for 10 to 15 minutes. The thing that you do, if you overheat it, this will bubble, or this will get so soft that when you pick it up, it'll sag like this, and the linoleum might crack along this part. So heating it is good, but overheating it is going to be a real problem. All right, so in terms of planning your image, you can see someone has a Sharpie mark here. You can do that. And here, my special British visitor, whose name is Delilah Higgins, she has used Sharpie to show where she is not going to carve. right? So the black areas here are going to be printable in her image. You know, whereas the areas she's cut out, those are going to be the color of the paper. So you can plan your image out like that if you want. Draw the Sharpie in the printing areas, okay? Another way you can do it is the exact opposite. Draw the Sharpie and then cut along the Sharpie line, right? And that way you'll have a white line with essentially like printable negative space. So you figure out what works for you. There's no better way than the other. And you can draw with a light touch with pencil on this if you want to do sort of like planning, and then go back with Sharpie. But, and a lot of people don't like to just go ahead and cut. They need a plan. So I would encourage you to do that. And remember, this is important to remember here, that when we print this, there will be a left to right reversal. This is a symmetrical image, so it won't be dramatic. But let's say that I'm going to print this, and this is what I'm going to print in the demo. I'm going to do some more cutting on it, but so, you know, in the print, this shape will be on the opposite side, right? Because we're going to put paper down here, and this will be inked, and when you pull it up, it will reverse. There'll be a left to right reversal. So again, think about your composition. If it doesn't matter to you that there's a left or right reversal, have at it, just cut it. But if you have text or something very specific that you're really hoping to happen, then you need to think backwards and think left to right, think about a reversal. And one thing that can be helpful is to use a mirror, because that will show you the reversal before you see it in print. You know, so what you could do is plan your image out, put it in front of the mirror. If you can live with it like that, you like it like that, then, you know, that gives you a preview of the print and you can start cutting. Okay, let me see. Have I covered everything that I should in order to get everybody started? Is there anything I didn't cover? Okay. All right, so again, I've got my clean working surface here. I cut on this piece of cardboard. I cut the linoleum down on the cardboard. You know, you don't necessarily have to cut on this. If you cut off a little piece, this can be your test piece that you can see, okay, well, what does the U-gouge look like? What does a V-gouge look like? You know, or if you know you're gonna have a large spot that you're gonna cut out, do your experimenting in that spot. Okay. So we're gonna stop here. I'm gonna cut on this a little more, and you're gonna start your projects. And in the next demo, I will show you how to ink and print this bad boy. Okay? All right, have fun.